So even though he won the $2 billion Powerball, which is a 1 in 300 million chance, this dude is blowing through his money like crazy.
Most of them wind up penniless within a short period of time.
Upwards of 70% of lottery winners go bankrupt.
Let's find out why.
A perfect example of the opposite of what wealthy people do is lottery winners. Roughly 70% of them go broke within 7 years. And as a statistic, lottery winners have a higher probability of going bankrupt than the general population. The reason is because they think they have all this money, they think it will last a long time, and they just go out and spend it without realizing that the money will go away and you can't outspend your bad habits. So if you have the right habits and the right discipline early on, that will help you become wealthy.
That's such an insane statistic, but I'd like to see, okay, what counts as a lottery winner? Do you need to win 10 grand, 100 grand, a million? You know, what is the threshold for that? But still, the fact that they go bankrupt more often than the general public is completely jarring. I just find it hard to believe they didn't buy a house or a car or any sort of investments in which their money will be safe, and how it just like goes out the window, whether it's the family, friends, bad people in your life. And here's Joe Rogan on this problem.
We know that from lottery winners.
Yeah.
Like people get an enormous chunk of money. You might win $200 million.
Yep.
You hit the mega bonus, whatever the hell it is, and then you're living in hell.
Yes.
For whatever reason, you don't like it.
Yep.
You now find yourself surrounded by people that are trying to take money from you. You feel like you're a target. You all the people that you grew up with and all people that know now looking for handouts, and it gets really crazy. And most of them wind up penniless within a short period of time.
Yep.
I think it's like, how many years is it where most lottery winners wind up broke? I think it's like less than 20 years, even when they have enormous amounts of money.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's insane. They run into lawsuits and you got all your friends, supposedly friends and family trying to get money out of you. And it got to be impossible to keep up. So I think there's kind of like two factors, because most people who play the lottery are inherently just bad with their money. Because if you're intelligent with your money, you look at the lottery, you look at the odds, and you say, you know what, I'm not playing it. Unless you're just doing it for the fun of it. If you have any mathematical knowledge, you would stay far away from the lottery. And then it's also that leap in wealth, right? If you come from poverty, all your friends are poor, you're working some dead-end job, all of a sudden you have millions and millions of dollars when all the people you associate with and all your friends don't. That's what creates that weird dynamic and those weird situations in which they're trying to get money out of you, which is why some lottery winners disappear.
On April 23rd, 2019, Manuel Franco's life changed forever when he won a staggering $768 million on a $10 lottery ticket. After taxes, Manuel took home an impressive $326 million. Before his big win, Manuel had struggled financially, but now he had more money than he could have ever imagined. However, with such a large sum of money, also came a flood of scams and fraudsters trying to impersonate Manuel in order to get their hands on his personal information. For security reasons, Manuel decided to remove himself from the internet and has since disappeared from the public eye.
That's a smart decision. That got to be really tough to handle, because like most people, if they have $300 million, they've worked their way up, they own a business, they met lawyers, they met accountants, but he's going from poverty all the way to $300 million. I mean, that's some insane ROI. $10 to like $700 million, then after tax he has $326. That is insanity. But it sounds like he played it smart. That got to be tough to deal with, right? When there are news headlines, hey, this guy who was poor just acquired $320 million. You know, all the scammers, all the leeches are going to take notice, like, oh, this guy might be an easy target compared to other wealthy people. You know, let's try and defraud him. Let's try and get some of this money. So it sounds like he did not go broke, unlike this lottery winner.
We're back to 2002 when this 19-year-old was working as a garbage man, and then all of a sudden he won a lottery jackpot. $12 million. And after winning this money, instead of investing or setting up a retirement fund, he decided to splurge. He was buying fast cars, gambling all the time, buying a ton of drugs, and throwing these crazy parties, which also costed a lot of money. And by 2010, he was essentially completely broke and returned to work as a garbage man, like nothing ever happened. I guess if you look at it as like a really crazy 8-year vacation, then good for him. I personally would have done things a bit different.
That's completely insane to lose that kind of money, especially in 2002, right? I bet 12 mil in 2002 is probably worth, what, double today? We've just had like such a stupid amount of inflation. But that's kind of to a point I've heard from so many people, is that money is an amplifier. So, right, he was working as a garbage man. Maybe he was partying on the weekends, you know, doing drugs and whatnot, and then he comes in the $12 million. Well, that's just going to amplify his bad habits. Any bad habits that you have, if you're poor, if you run into money, they're just going to get worse. If you have a problem with alcohol or drugs, you're going to be abusing them all day long. If you have a spending problem, then you'll have a big spending problem and run out of that money in less than a decade. That's just an insane amount of partying for it to all disappear. You'd think you'd buy some cars, you might buy a house or two that actually retain value. Now here's some advice that if he followed, he'd still be rich today.
What to do in your first 24 hours after winning $50 million.
Step 1,
Sign the lottery ticket just in case it gets lost or stolen so you can prove it's yours. Step 2. Stay calm and collect your prize secretly to avoid unwanted attention. Step 3. Get a lawyer from a big firm that specialises in trust and estate planning. Step 4. Make it last forever by figuring out how much you want to spend per year, then multiplying that by 25 and investing it in the S&P 500. That way you should be able to withdraw 4% per year without it ever running out.
This is all great advice. Now, I never thought of that. Okay, sign the ticket so you can hopefully avoid more lawsuits. Or if your name's on it, that's more proof that you own it. Then keep a low profile, lawyer up, and invest. And like he said, invest in the S&P 500. It does about 7% a year. So if you withdraw 4%, it should literally never run out of money. For an example, in a single year, if you put $10 million in the S&P 500 at the start of the year, by the end of it, you should have about $10.7 million. So if you were to withdraw 4% of the initial investment, that would be $400K. And you still have 10.3 million invested. So as you can see, it still grew where you're able to withdraw an income of 400 grand, right? And if you can't live off 400 grand, that is entirely your fault. Now, here's how a $2 billion winner is spending his money.
Edwin Castro is going broke. So even though he won the $2 billion Powerball, which is a 1 in 300 million chance, this dude is blowing through his money like crazy. Considering he wanted to cash in all the money at once, he ends up with a little bit less than $1 billion. But considering he still has to pay taxes on that $1 billion, he ends up with something like 600 million. So as soon as he won the lottery, he bought this $25 million home in Los Angeles. And even though the insurance and property tax on it is probably insane, it's nothing that 600 million can't handle. But recently he bought this second home for about $4 million, and right after that he bought a third one, but this time for 47 million, which is already 20% of his earnings spent on homes within his first year. Not to mention his vintage Porsche, which costs over $250,000, and because his spending habits are becoming so publicized, everyone is predicting that he's gonna lose it all within a couple years.
I mean, that doesn't seem terrible to me, right? If you buy property, it retains its value or increases its value. So sure, property taxes are through the roof in California, but the way homes increase today, that's not necessarily terrible spending. I would get if he's spending it at the club, he's burning it on bottles and women, but he's investing in property. How's he gonna go broke investing in property? Like, worst case scenario, the taxes go up and he loses like a couple million on these homes. Whoop-de-doo. So based upon that, I don't think he's going broke, but here's more info on his situation.
Where are they now? The person who won the biggest lottery jackpot in all of history, worth $2.04 billion, Edwin Castro. 2 years ago, Edwin Castro decided to buy a $2 lottery ticket, which turned into $2 billion. After taxes and the IRS stealing all of Edwin's money, he walked away with around $628.5 million in cash. So what did he do with it? Castro went on to buy 3 different mansions in the greater Los Angeles area. The first mansion that he bought was $25.5 million. The second mansion that Castro bought was almost double the price of the first mansion at $47.5 million. And finally, for his last mansion, he spent a mere $4 million on a Japanese-styled mansion. Castro also went on to spend $250,000 of his winnings to buy a vintage white Porsche in addition to his already large Porsche collection. Unfortunately for Castro, he's currently being sued by Jose Rivera, who claims that ticket was not Castro's but instead actually his. Things are looking up for Castro as California lottery officials are backing up Castro.
Now, as of 2024, the lawsuit was tossed out, so it just seemed like a frivolous lawsuit. That's what I would have had to think. I mean, come on now, bro wins $2 billion. Of course, someone's going to come out and try and sue him. But that's insane, right? Because if you get a lump sum, you're going to get less money. And then after taxes, it's going to take about 50% of your earnings. So you win $2 billion and you only get $600 million. But I think he'll be fine. Sure, he's buying a lot of Porsches and, you know, cars go down in value. But if you own an old Porsche, it's still going to be worth thousands of dollars. And same with his houses. You know, if you own those mansions, they're still going to retain value, if not potentially grow in value, because real estate is not going to depreciate like a car would. Now, here's how this barber went broke after winning the lottery.
I had heard that my barber had won the lottery, like $1 million+, but he was still cutting my hair. I said, Phil, can I ask you a question? He said, yeah. I said, did you win the lottery? Yep, Dan, I won the lottery. I said, I don't want to be rude. Is it rude for me to ask you, like, why are you cutting my hair? Like, I don't think you like me that much. And he's like, he goes, you know, Dan, if I would have known better, I would have done something different. I said, what'd you do? He said, well, I got the money, bought myself, my wife, my kids, new cars. I brought the whole extended family on this big cruise. And when it was all said and done, $1 million doesn't go that far. And I remember hearing that and realizing that it wasn't even the money. It was his mindset around the money. He didn't believe he deserved $10 million. And when you don't believe you deserve something, you work really hard to get rid of it.
I don't know how it jumped to $10 million at the end. I'm going to assume that this barber won $1 million, but okay, did he get $1 million in cash, or does he win the $1 million and he has to pay tax on it, so he only has like $500K? Because if he only has $500K, well, of course, that's not going to last forever, right? $500K in the big 26 is like one home. You get one home for $500K. Now you still got to pay taxes on it. You still got to maintain it. And you still got to buy healthcare, which is through the roof. So no, that's not going to last forever, unfortunately. But I did hear some stuff where lottery winners, they feel like they don't deserve it, which, you know, it's got to be kind of like a survivor's guilt sort of thing, right? Like if you grew up in poverty and your family and friends are all poor, now all of a sudden you're worth like $100 million, you're going to be like, whoa, why did I deserve it? But me personally, I look at it like divine providence. Like, look, if I wasn't supposed to have this $100 million, then God would not let me win the lottery. So I don't think I'd have that problem, but I can see why people might feel that way. But here's more reasons lottery winners go broke.
Millions and millions of dollars, and they go bankrupt. They lose everything.
Wow.
Because of two reasons. Number one, they did not come up with a plan for their money. And all those millions and millions of dollars did was magnify who they already were. And who they already were was someone who just spends recklessly and spends money they don't got and takes out loans and gets whatever they want, doesn't say no and all that stuff. The second reason people who win the lottery go bankrupt is they're surrounded by leeches. People who want a piece and want a piece and want a piece.
Like I said earlier, money is that amplifier. So if you have awful spending habits when you don't have a ton of money, right? If you get a bunch of money, that's not going to fix your awful spending habits. You just get more expensive awful spending habits. Like there are genuinely some people out there, and I hear them call into the Dave Ramsey show, oh, we're making $200K a year and we're in debt. Making $300K a year and we're in debt. Like there's some people like that. They could genuinely make $1 million a year, and they're going to find a way to spend 1.1 mil. They can make $2 million a year. They're going to spend 2.2. Like some people cannot help themselves but spend a little more than all of the money they take in any given year. So I don't think the lottery is any different. Like I said earlier, if people are playing the lottery, they are inherently, usually, mathematically terrible with their money. Unless you're just playing for fun or you know you have no chance of winning, but oh, this is fun. Then you are someone who's terrible with your money because mathematically speaking, right, how does the lottery make money? We have to take in more money than we give out. So if we're taking in more money than we give out, then that means that you buying a lottery ticket is not a profitable proposition. And then if you do win, you gotta have an investment plan and you gotta fight off all of these darn leeches. Here's more of what the 70% should have done.
3 things you must do if you win the lottery from a lawyer.
42.
42.
13.
13.
And the final number, 7.
I won! Hey everyone, guess what? I won the lottery! Shh, don't tell anyone. Number 1, if you win the lottery, keep your mouth shut. Telling everyone you know that you won millions of dollars is a surefire way to send bad actors and scammers your way. I hope no one sees me trying to redeem this ticket worth millions of dollars. Ah!
Whoa, these are the winning lottery numbers.
What? No, it's not. Give it back.
Later, chump.
No! Number 2, claim your ticket right away by signing the back of it. This will help you if it gets lost or stolen. 1,100,000, 1,200,000, 1,300,000. What? Hello? Sir, you failed to pay $200 million in taxes this year. You're going to jail. What? I thought rich people didn't go to jail. Old money, maybe. New money, you're more likely to accidentally commit tax fraud because you don't know what you're doing. Can I bring my money to jail? No. And number 3, make sure you get a good attorney and a tax professional because you can hide that money away from your family, but you can't from the IRS.
That's all great advice again, where you got to sign the ticket and keep a little profile. But I always thought with lottery winnings, the tax would just be taken out before you're paid. I can't imagine that they do it like self-employment, in which they pay out the whole entire lottery winnings and then you have to self-report. I'd have to imagine it's taken out before it's paid out, right? I don't think that the lottery will be trying to deal with that. Now here's a story we can learn from.
As the numbers flashed, he realized he had just won $31 million. Overjoyed, he bought a mansion for himself and houses for his family. He handed out cash to friends, donated to his church, and even gave money to strangers. But soon, the excitement faded. And this happened because no matter how much your life improves, your brain eventually adjusts, bringing you back to your normal baseline level of happiness. Meaning that no matter what, you'll eventually lose the feeling. The man became depressed and got angry when people asked him for things. He became so upset that his wife left him and took the kids. Alone and overwhelmed, he locked himself in his room. The jackpot that initially changed his life ultimately led him to end it.
That's crazy sad, but that's that telling tale. Like, what are you grounded in? If you're grounded in the idea that, you know, financial success is going to be your happiness, well, you are in for a surprise. If you're not grounded in faith, then yeah, your life is going to feel completely meaningless. So you can have like millions and millions of dollars, right? And you think that that's going to be the end all be all, you are completely mistaken. So whether you win the lottery or gain some new success in life, you have to be grounded in the faith, or it can lead to your demise. In similar fashion to lottery winners, athletes are also going broke. So click here to see that. Now you have reached the end.